I've been known to grumble about the Dark Ages before, but even that benighted era has its heroes. And many of them are proof that one needn't be a brawny, muscle-headed knight to achieve great things. Let's welcome Taran. Hello again all. Dalvin's still busy at the farmhouse, but he sent me with some leek and mutton stew for the lot of us. Hooray! Munchings and crunchings for everybody! Just a thing for a party around the campfire. After all we've been through these past few days, it's most welcome. Bravely tendered up his sword. No, that's not right. Boldly. Does boldly work? Fluder, are you alright? It's just, if you're speaking in verse all of a sudden, I want to make sure it's on purpose. Verse? Yes, my musings. Which as I'd like to join the celebration, I'm afraid my mind is elsewhere. You see, I am attempting to compose an epic ballad to commemorate our recently concluded struggle against the Horned King. But, try as I might, I find myself stricken with the most stubborn case of writer's block. Or, board's block, as it were. Oh, is there any way I can help? I could try to strike an inspirational pose or two to remind you. Let's send Taran to strike some inspirational poses. Well, did it work? Not for Gurgi. If Taran put Juicy Apple on sword, that'd inspire Gurgi for sure. Taran, how did you get a sword? You traded the magic one away to the witches to save Gurgi's life. Which Gurgi is very thankful for. Yes, well, I asked the blacksmith down the way to make me a replica, but that's not important. A sword doesn't need to be magic to be inspirational. At least I don't think it does. Oh, friend Fluder! Gurgi in this story? Why, of course you are, Gurgi. You don't come in until a little later though, after Taran has... Ah, Gurgi know that part, and everybody else know it too. Gurgi wanna hear story about what he doing before. Before? Well, I hadn't thought of that is. Why don't you try telling that part yourself? I'd be happy to incorporate it. Let's tell of Gurgi before Taran. Gurgi wonder, dummy grumble, hope for apple, or maybe, what rhymes with apple? Plumbo! A valiant first effort. We'll have to work on your rhyming, of course, but that can come later. Cherry crumble, perhaps? Yes! Gurgi already know how to rhyme munchings with crunchings, but lots more rhymes he not learn yet. Also, now Gurgi hungry for cherry crumble. Fluder make some for teachings later. Anyway, the important thing isn't if I inspire the rest of you, it's if I inspire Fluder. Isn't that right, Fluder? Yes, Eureka! I've got it! The opening stanzas of my masterpiece to be. See? I knew it was me who'd... Oh, were you saying something, lad? I was busy drawing inspiration from the moonlight on the trees over there. Oh, never mind. Alright, no harm done. Now our tale opens with Taran, a humble assistant pig keeper, dreaming of adventures and heroism. Let's tell of Taran, dreaming of adventure. My exploits will be brave, bold, big, not just caring for this pig. Yes, lofty bards may one day sing of when I faced the horned king. Wait, hold on. Is that supposed to be an impression of me? Well, yes, lad, it is. I felt it would add verisimilitude to the tale if I used my powers of imitation to... Don't! What I mean to say is, just you using your ordinary voice is inspiring enough. He's making me sound like a duck with a head cold. But then, horror of horrors, no sooner had Taran learned that his pig Henwen was possessed of oracular powers. And also meet Kirky. Yes, he'd also met Kirky, but no sooner had that happened than Henwen was abducted by the vile, draconic agents of the Horned King and taken to his most dreadful lair. Let's build the Horned King's castle. His dungeon dank, his stairs unsafe, his manacles, your wrists, they chafe. His... Fluder, maybe the tale shouldn't have 10 stanzas describing the castle before I actually go in there? Excellent note, lad. Forgive me, I found myself unexpectedly swept up in the rhapsodic symphonious throes of the song form. Oh, are you alright? That sounds like it hurts. Or is at least rather difficult to spell. As I was saying, the valiant Taran braved the Horned King's castle and freed Henwen. Hooray! Only to be captured himself and locked away in a dark and foreboding dungeon cell. Oh no! And yet his despair was short-lived, for he was freed from his captivity by the brave and resourceful Princess Ailangwi. Hooray! Wait, I was there for that part. I offer a somewhat less surprised hooray then. Let's tell of Taran in the Horned King's castle. Daring duo crept through the dank underbelly of the Horned King's castle, seeking a stealthy egress, and who perchance did they happen upon? None other than a ballader to the grandest courts, the bard Fluder Flem, who did not need rescuing as he had just broken free of his chains and was heroically skirmishing with the Horned King's... Fluder? Your harp just unstringed itself. Which always seems to happen when you exaggerate. Now, Fluder, no fibbing. You did say you wanted to commemorate our adventures accurately, didn't you? For posterity. Well, I'm not sure I used those specific words, but a certain degree of poetical liberty will only serve to benefit the... Yes, I'll restring my harp and tell it again properly. Let's tell of Taran in the castle again. When who perchance did they happen upon? None other than that ballader par excellence, the inimitable Fluder Flam, who spent the majority of the next quarter hour yelling for his life and running away from a very angry guard dog. There, Fluder. I may not have seen all of that myself, but I'm sure you were running away very bravely. Very charitable of you, my boy. Thank you kindly. Phew. At least his harp doesn't break when I'm the one exaggerating. Wait a moment. Didn't you say this part of the ballad was supposed to be about me escaping from the castle? It's fine if you want to change that, of course. It's just... There's been 3 stances already of you running away. Ah, well spotted, Taran. I'm getting to your bit now. To be specific, your astounding realization that your new sword, which you had just liberated from a tomb beneath the castle, was magical. Tell of Taran wielding a sword. Yes, exactly. And then I said, "Hiya!" and struck at the particles chain like this. Hiya! Yes, very evocative, Taran, but I think I might be full upon inspiration for the moment. Oh, well, I'll just keep swinging it around over there for myself. It's a very good replica. I'm not planning on slaying any quiet things with it. It's just fun, is all. The 3 companions had successfully made their escape from the Horned King's castle. And met Gurgi, he companion too. Yes, quite right, Gurgi, but their adventure was far from complete. For in their ongoing quest to find Henwen and safeguard her from the forces of evil, they would face many perils to come. That still of Taran, tested by fate. And after locating Henwen in the land of the fair folk, an adventure in its own right, to be sure. Well, a number of other events transpired, at the end of which Taran traded his sword for the Black Cauldron. Hang on, events transpired? Fluder, you just skipped over half of the... Yes, the legendary Black Cauldron, object of all the Horned King's sinister desires. Oh, what a foreboding relic it was. Fluder, are you even listening? But then, horror of horrors, our heroes were recaptured by the Horned King's forces. Fluder, and the Black Cauldron as well, installed in the Horned King's hall by his guards, its vile magics waiting to be unleashed. Fluder, our heroes, bound and powerless, could only watch as the evil king crowed over his impending triumph. Fluder, all us friends yelling at you! Yes, hold on a moment, Gurgi. I just have to finish up this last line. That still of Taran, trapped in the Horned King's castle. And there. Now you were saying... We're saying that you left out half the story. Like Dolly of the Fairfolk taking us to the marshes of Morva. Yes, and bargaining with the 3 witches there to trade us the cauldron in exchange for Taran's sword. Yeah, and also things Gurgi do then. Gurgi likes to hear about Gurgi things. all very good points. Would you believe me if I said this was merely a preliminary sketch? I'm not sure, Fluder, but I wonder what your harp thinks. You're right, I admit, I did exclude our sojourn into the marshes of Morva from the tale. But only because I spent a large part of that day being turned into a frog and back by a most frustrating trio of witches. Altogether, a most humiliating experience. Can you blame me for not wishing to immortalize it in song? Well, I understand how you feel, Fluder. I'm not proud of that day either. I was much too reluctant to trade away my sword. But it really is an important part of the story, and I think it's worth telling. Here, let me try to inspire you again. Let's send Taran to bring on the inspiration. then the witch's cottage flew off into the sky like this, and the black cauldron came up from underground like this. Does that make sense? I'd use my sword to point instead of a stick, but I'd already traded away the real sword by then, so... Were you saying something? I was just finishing a couplet describing Arthur's hair color as it's crucial to the scene. I thought I was rather good. Perhaps I should consider being a bard. But Cauldron gained, our heroes learned. There was a trick to what they'd earned. To break the cauldron and end its strife, one must climb in and lose their life. And I believe that brings us up to where we were before. Now, may I return to when the Horned King's forces recaptured us? Yeah, and thank you for not singing so loud about when Gurgi ran away. Remember, Gurgi, very sorry he did that. Tell of Taran in the Horned King's castle again. Our heroes, bound and powerless, could only watch as the evil king crowed over his impending triumph. I wish we didn't have to remember this part. And then... Yes, Fluder? And then... just hold on a moment, I've completely lost my place. Oh, perhaps we shouldn't have made him add that part about Marva. It is a bit distracting. It's not that I'm entirely at sea, you understand. I have several very promising monologues composed for the Horned King. Very little troubled with that bit. In fact, it's just going back and forth with the story. My thoughts got jumbled and... here we go. Let's welcome the Horned King. Such a brave and handsome crew, a pig boy, mate and harpist too. Perhaps it interests you for lore, to see what fate is soon in store. Oh, that's very good, and if you don't mind me saying, your Horned King impression is much better than your Taran impression. I'll say, I don't know what you're doing with your throat exactly, but it's very frightening. Thank you, friends. Your praise means the world to me. Now, as I was saying... Fallen soldiers now arise, go forth all to claim my prize. Then powerless the world shall mourn, and fall before my cauldron born. Oh, Fluder, that gave me chills. When do we get to the... In good time, my dear, in good time. There are still 50 lines left in this soliloquy. Let's tell of the Horned King, gloating. Behold my coming victory, my greatest triumph, ha-ha-hee! And I believe that about covers it. Well, thoughts, comments, constructive criticisms? I mean, I was listening, I promise. What I mean to say, I'm sure, is that ha-ha-hee might not be the most villainous laugh to use. Oh. Yes, Eilonwy, I'm sure they did. Thank you. Thank you all for the feedback. Perhaps this instead. Behold, my word will soon be law. My greatest triumph. Ha ha ha! Ooh, Gurgi knows what come next. This the part when Gurgi... don't spoil the grand finale now, Gurgi. That's the most important part. Oh, but everybody already know what happened, because we all do it together, yesterday. Yes, Gurgi, that's very true, but future audiences for this story may not know how it ends. And I'd very much like to tell this last part as I tell it to them, with all of the most thrilling surprises still intact. Let's tell of Taran and the Horned King in the castle. And Gurgi cried Gurgi's happy day, and that is all this part will say. Bravo! That really was thrilling, especially how the witches brought Gurgi back. I'm sure your audience will love it. Thank you, thank you. Of course, merely singing about our adventures is nothing compared to having lived through them. But if any poetry lovers out there wish to hear the Ballad of Taran and the Horned King, well, they know where to find me. And if not, they can just follow the sound of breaking harp strings.